Hello students, in this short video I will explain the proposal assignment and give you an idea of the parts of this assignment as well as the process. The proposal is a very important assignment for this class, I think the most important one. I would guess that 90% of you will end up writing a proposal sometime in your professional career. The proposal ranges from a small written one-page document that discusses a short change in organization to a 50 to 1,000 page multi-million dollar document that is in response to a bid. So many of you will write the proposal, and there are specific parts to the proposal. I'm going to take you through the process and show you some examples of the proposals, and you can look at some of the final proposals, the sample proposals that I have listed in the course pack. But let me take you through the process. The first thing that you will do to start this proposal assignment is to do the starting guide, and I'm going to give you examples of the starting guide. The starting guide is a mechanism or a prompt or a heuristic, we call it, that will help you come up with a good proposal topic. And you can look at the, we'll have a specific starting guide assignment, but here's an example of a starting guide where a student looks at not enough vegetarian choices in her community. Or here's another starting guide where this student is actually looking at a training program at one of the stores where she works. Here's a starting guide from a pre-medicine student who's looking at the large quantities of pain medicine available in the emergency department at a hospital. And finally, let's see, where's my fourth starting guide? Here's the starting guide, and it starts with poor planning in the chemistry lab hinders learning and productivity. So the first part of this process is to do the starting guide. Now, the starting guide will help ground your topic, and it will help you come up and give you a focus and help you come up with the exact thing the exact problem that you want to work on. Once you have the starting guide, you work and develop what's called the problem statement. The problem statement is a 2 to 3 paragraph discussion of the central focus or the central problem. And what you do is you take your starting guide and you take that outline and the dissonance, and you'll learn what that is later, and work it into paragraph form. Here's a problem statement for the medicine, the prescribing medicines that we saw earlier. It has an introduction. It has what's called the A side that sets up the ideal, and then it has the B side. Here's another problem statement that talks about the residence halls. It has a long introduction history, and it's called the A side and the B side. So you go from the starting guide to the problem statement. After you write the problem statement, we move into what's called the visual invention, and this is just a mapping or brainstorming exercises that has the center problem here, or the central problem here, and it has the causes and then effects from the problem here. And this is a way to help you organize writing the problem memo, which is essentially the first half of your proposal. Now here's the example of the problem memo, and the problem memo takes that visual invention and the problem paragraphs and puts it into a memo form of about 2 to 3 pages. And here is one problem memo, and this is the problem about the training program at Gymboree stores. You have an introduction, you have a problem section, and this needs to be developed more fully. This is just a first draft. It has the causes section, effects, history, future, criteria for the solution, and a conclusion. And this is just a short draft. Eventually this student fleshed it out into the problem section had 2 to 3 full paragraphs, and the causes and effects had full paragraphs as well. But this lays out the first full half of the proposal. Once you have written a problem memo, we actually now move to what's called the audience memo. Now the audience memo does 2 things. In the audience memo, you plan the research that you need to carry out in order to make a good proposal, and you also analyze the organization and the audience for your proposal. For the audience memo, you take the first part of your problem memo, and that becomes the first section of the audience memo. But then you move to two major parts. The first one is the discussion of the audience, and this whole section is based on the textbooks, different textbook chapters, different chapters, and you analyze very carefully the audience and organization. And here's what a student does here. After you analyze the audience and organization, you discuss your research. You introduce the research inquiry or questions, your guiding questions, your research plans, the primary research sources, the secondary sources, and then the conclusion. And in the end, you append or put in the appendices your actual research instruments. And here the student has the interview questions and then the survey. And after you turn in this audience research memo, you actually carry out this research. And you're required to carry out one primary research instrument, and that's either survey or interview, and then do two secondary research instruments, and that is internet research or research based on the organization that isn't primary, such as interviews or surveys. After you've finished with a research, you are now in a position to write the full proposal. The first thing we do to write the whole proposal is we simply write an outline. And here a student writes an introduction, and it needs a bunch of work. And then the student simply writes an outline. And this outline we're mostly focused on the solution, what the solution must do, all of its components, etc. So we outline the proposal. Once we have outlined the proposal, we now begin integrating the research into both the problem section and the solution section. So we take that first problem memo that you wrote and we reframe it for the actual audience, and then we integrate the research into the problem section and then into the solution section, and then we focus on drafting the full solution. And here's one of the sample proposals. And you'll see that this student has integrated the research into the problem section. If you read that in both those proposals, here you see, in my interviews with both of you last week we discussed, and so the research is integrated into the problem. And he thoroughly documents the problem based on his research. He goes through the history, future, then through the criteria, and now he discusses the solution. And some of this is based on his primary research and some of it's based on his secondary. He actually compared the university, New Mexico State University, to UTEP and UNM with his secondary research, and then he proposed his solution. And in the solution he talks about resources and costs and actually how he's going to set it up, how he's going to staff it, return on investment. So we draft the full proposal and we upload the proposal for review and critique, and then you turn in the final version. This is the process. It's a long process, but it's the actual process that I use when I write proposals. I am always writing proposals. Right now I have two. Usually I have two running, and I go through the same process. I develop the starting guide so I can understand how to ground my proposal in a topic that's worth working on. And then I write the problem statement or problem paragraphs. Once I do that, I brainstorm about the organization of the problem section using a visual invention. And then I draft the problem section. And that's one difference I have with you, is I draft the problem section, I write it to my audience as a first step in the full proposal. You write the problem section as the problem memo, which is the first part, which is the first assignment or first part of this proposal assignment, and it's graded separately. Then you do the research. You research the audience, organization, and then you actually do hands-on research with the people themselves. in the audience memo. You carry that research out, you go back and you integrate that research into the problem section. You outline and explore the solutions section, integrate the solutions into the solution plans that you have. You draft the full proposal, you get feedback from the full proposal from me and from other students, and then you turn in the final version. This process works well. The key to the process, however, is that each step you must do well. If you start poorly, it's really hard to catch up. If you have a bad topic, or a topic that's well beyond the scope of this assignment, or you're working in an organization you're not familiar with, it's hard to catch up. Each step of the process is important. Each step will build a final proposal that will get you the A that you want. Anyway, this is a proposal assignment and its parts. I hope you learn from this. It's a very important genre, and it's a good assignment we have. I have a lot of experience that I actually teach grant writing, proposal writing, and I do a lot of it myself, so I'm hoping that you can draw on my experience. Good luck.